It's Newsday, and today Topping wraps themselves in velvet, Campfire goes wireless, and Shanling revives an antique technology. This is Wheezy Tech News. Hey guys, this is Noel, and this is Wheezy Tech News, the show where I talk about some of the recent news in consumer audio tech that I found interesting or that I thought might be interesting to you. So let's get into the news. 7Hertz released a teaser image for their new upcoming Legato IEM. There's not too much info to go on just of yet, and they look like the typical 7Hertz design with a metal chassis and are said to be a dual dynamic driver design with one 6mm driver and one 12mm driver. There's no other information available as of recording this video, so I'll report more in a future video when that information becomes available. Meze Audio have a new limited edition headphone, the Elite Epoque, which is a high-end hand-decorated version of their Elite headphone. Just like the original Elite, the Elite Epoque features a CNC machined frame with carbon fiber headband and ISO dynamic array driver. For the Elite Epoque, the headphone has been given a facelift with a custom paint job inspired by Art Nouveau designs from La Belle Epoque, a period of French history known for its flourishing artistic climate. Each headphone is masked meticulously by hand before painting to achieve the swirling design across the aluminium body and carbon headband. And if you like what you see, and if they haven't sold out already, you best be quick, as only 100 units are being made, and you best have the money to burn, as the price tag is a whopping $5,000. Topping have a new DAC, and hang on, didn't I already talk about this a few weeks ago? I had to do a double take on this one because Topping released their new E70 and L70 stack back in October. However, they now have a new variant of the DAC called the E70 Velvet. The E70 DAC they released in October was an ESS-based DAC running the ES9028 Pro DAC chip. The new E70 Velvet is running a flagship AK4191 EQ and 4499EX DAC chip pairing from AKM based on their Velvet Sound Verita technology, hence the E70 Velvet name. On scanning over the spec sheet, it looks like the rest of the specs and features are mostly the same, at least in the places where it matters. This seems to be simply a switch from the ESS DAC chip to the more premium AKM DAC chips for a more high-end version of the device. So if you were looking to pick up the E70 and L70 stack, you now have two versions of the DAC to choose from. As to what difference that actually makes to the sound performance, I suspect that will be largely academic or entirely subjective depending on where you land on this sort of thing. But if you do opt for the E70 Velvet, your wallet will be lighter to the tune of $100, as the price of the E70 Velvet is $449. High-end earphone company Campfire Audio have finally released their first ever true wireless earphone, the Orbit. The Orbit features Campfire's north of neutral tuning, a single 10mm dynamic driver with liquid crystal polymer diaphragm. They also feature a Qualcomm QCC3040, which is one of Qualcomm's older entry-level Bluetooth SoCs. They support SBC AAC and aptX adaptive codecs. They have IPX5 ingress protection, an 8-hour battery life with 30 including the case with Qi wireless charging support, and as for the usual other TWS features that you might expect, well, that's all she wrote. There's no ANC, no transparency modes, no smart assistants, just those Campfire hipster vibes in an earphone with no wires. The Orbit is a rather bulky design and features Campfire's signature angled styling and two-tone sandy brown, beige colorway, or whatever this is supposed to be, and I guess this is meant to evoke some kind of classic wooden styling or something, although to my eyes it's got more of a hearing aid vibe. From the pictures they look kinda cheap and plasticky, which is par for the course for a lot of cheaper TWS earphones, but doesn't really fit either the usual Campfire aesthetic or the $250 price tag. Still, I'm sure they did spend most of their 2-year development time working on the sound of the Orbit rather than the features, but it seems like they phoned in the build. Who knows, maybe it does look much nicer in person. Now for sure there will be a lot of people who this focus on the sound of the TWS will be all they care about, and they will not care about the lack of features and the looks at all. And I suspect those people are already Campfire Audio's target demographic, which is ideal because for $250 they don't have an awful lot else going for them. So they had better sound amazing, or what else is there? That is a big old chunk of change for them to sound just average. For everybody else, the TWS market is incredibly competitive, and with the likes of Sennheiser, Samsung, Apple and Sony already dominating the high end, and brands like Anker and One More dominating the entry level, I'm not sure that the Campfire Orbit has much going for it. Hey, do me a favor at this point, if you like this sort of content, then I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. It really helps out the channel a lot more than you might expect. There's been a few updates from Fiio as of late. First up, the FW5, which is a hybrid triple driver TWS earphone with a dual-core Snapdragon QCC 5141 Bluetooth SoC from Qualcomm. That is actually a slightly older chipset now, released back in 2020, although it was at the time considered one of their high-end chipsets, and is still part of Qualcomm's offering today and is certified for Snapdragon sound. The FW5 features Bluetooth 5.2 with BLE support and Qualcomm aptX adaptive codec, as well as featuring the usual SBC and AAC codecs and the LHDC codec, which has limited support on mobile phones but is nonetheless a high-end codec capable of so-called high-res audio. For the DAC, they're running independent DAC chips on each ear, the AK4332 DAC from AKM, and in terms of the sound hardware, the FW5 is a triple driver design featuring a single 10mm dynamic driver with a diamond-like carbon or DLC diaphragm and dual Knowles balanced armatures per ear. Other features are pretty standard these days: IPX4 ingress protection, up to 7 hours battery life per charge, and up to 21 hours including the charge in the case. Each earpiece weighs 6.4 grams with a total weight of 57.2 grams with the case. They're being supplied with a number of accessories including the USB-C charge cable, a cleaning brush, and a range of different tips in the usual small, medium, and large sizes, with one set being referred to as balanced ear tips and the other alternative set called vocal tips. So it seems that the tuning is altered slightly depending on which tips that you choose, so you can pick whichever ones you prefer. And finally, pricing is around $160 USD or £130. Next up from Fiio is the FF5, which is surprisingly a wired earbud style earphone. It is pretty cool to see some companies still putting effort into this older earphone style, which is still ideal for those who just don't get on with ear canal or IEM fit earphones. The FF5 is pretty high-end for this style of earphone. CNC machined from aluminium and weighing just 3.4 grams per earpiece, they have a 14.2mm carbon-based dynamic driver. Fiio claims that this driver was specially developed and features a PU gasket and carbon-based diaphragm. They have a nominal impedance of 45 ohms and a sensitivity of 106 decibels per milliwatt, and Fiio have designed in acoustic resistance pipes to extend the bass performance of the FF5. However, they claim that these have been tuned with female vocals in mind and not so much on heavy bass. But it is hard to get an open earphone like this to have a decent bass response due to the lack of seal, so I would say that this tuning is probably more guided by the form factor than anything. In keeping with the higher end positioning of this earphone, the FF5 features a removable cable that connects to each earpiece with an MMCX connector. The cable itself is a braided and silver-plated monocrystalline copper affair of the type you most often see on IEM earphones. What's extra special about the cable is the interchangeable connectors at the other end. These give you the option to run the FF5 via a 3.5mm TRS connector as normal, as well as a 4.4mm Pentacon connector to run these in a balanced operation. Also included is a hard shell carrying and storage box and a number of different foam and silicone covers so that you can find the perfect fit without them pulling out of your ears, and to adjust the tuning slightly. Earphones of this style are far less popular and much harder to find these days than in the past. However, beyond the usual high street brands, there are still a few options on the market, from the likes of Moondrop and Astrotech and Tin Hi-Fi, as well as some others, and some of those are fairly cheap at sub $50, and there are even some high-end ones coming in at the $200 to $300 mark. The Fiio FF5 sits right in the middle of this bunch in terms of pricing at $140 USD or £113 UK. So for anyone who still cannot get on with or often tires of their ear canal fit earphones, the Fiio FF5 has got to be worth a look. Let me know down in the comments if this sort of earphone still interests you these days. Are you someone who struggles with earphone fit, and do you have any tricks and tips to making earphones work for you? Finally, from Fiio, we have the newly released quad driver FH15 IEM, and just like the FF5, the FH15 features a single 10mm dynamic driver with Fiio's newly developed carbon-based diaphragm. Additionally, the FH15 features triple Knowles balanced armatures, one Knowles ED handling the mid-frequencies, and a pair of rad BAs handling the treble. They have a nominal impedance of 16 ohms and a high sensitivity of 112 decibels per milliwatt. The body shell is made from CNC machined aluminium, and each earpiece weighs 6.6 grams. The FH15 has been tuned inside with a series of cavities and pipes that Fiio calls their notch filter Helmholtz resonator and S turbo design. User customization can be achieved with 3 different sets of interchangeable filters, with either a balanced enhanced bass or enhanced treble emphasis. Additional tuning can be achieved with a selection of different tips, also designed to alter for balanced bass or treble emphasis. Also, just like the FF5, the FH15 is being supplied with a hardshell carrying and storage box and a braided LITS cable with MMCX connectors at the earphone end and interchangeable connectors at the source end, giving you 3.5mm TRS or 4.4mm Pentacon options. The Fiio FH15 is available now, and they cost $240 or £195. Shanling, who are well known for their desktop and portable audio gear, have released a new CD player. What is this, 2022 or 1992? Shanling cut their teeth on CD players when they started decades ago, but a new CD player is not what I expected to see in late 2022. The Shanling EC3 is a desktop format top-loading CD player based on a Philips CD80 drive mechanism and Sanyo HD80 laser head, and also features an ES9219C DAC chip, as well as amplifier circuitry for a built-in headphone output and line output preamplification. The EC3 has a 1.6-inch IPS display up front and buttons for control, as well as a companion app for remote control. To the rear, there are digital outputs in the form of coaxial and optical Toslink, as well as RCA outputs. And not only does the EC3 play from a CD, but can also accept input from the USB port on the front to play digital media from a connected thumb drive, as well as Bluetooth input with AAC and LDAC support. The EC3 is also available in silver or black colorways. This looks like a really nice piece of hardware and completely unexpected to see fresh to market in late 2022. For those still buying CDs and still playing directly from those CDs rather than ripping them to a hard drive, this could be the ideal product. So get your wallet ready, as this is going to set you back $599 or £491. Leave a comment down below. Are you still using CDs, or are you just ripping them to a drive? Or maybe you've given up on physical media altogether and only download or stream music. I'm interested to hear how you get your music these days. Right, that's it from me for this episode of Wheezy Tech News. There will be more news coming up from me on this channel, so if you don't want to miss out, then make sure you get subscribed. And also, if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. And thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.